All right, Josh Johnson here. We are poised to talk my favorite subject, which is, of course, weather. This one's gonna be a long one. We're gonna be on for a while tonight, guys. We've got some tornado situations ongoing now in the state of Mississippi. I'm going to brief you on those momentarily. A lot to get to and not much time to get to it. So we will put our logos up there, take the lower third down, and crank right into this thing. We have what appears to be a tornado on the ground now over in Mississippi. So the first thing I'm going to do here, we're going to dip into our sister Gray station. WDAM is in live coverage right now following a tornado between Lightsey and Myrick in the state of Mississippi. So we'll dip into this for just a moment here, and then we'll talk about the Alabama weather situation as well.
You can move on towards the north and towards the east. That is where the strongest area of rotation currently is with this storm, and everything continues to race off towards the north and towards the east here at about 45 miles an hour. So we're talking about areas near Ukiah, just to the north of Whistler. It's going to be a very close call for those of you around Whistler, but it's going to go just to the west of you, but I think it will pass areas between Ukiah and Whistler, and you need to be in your safe spot now. So the area of rotation is currently sitting in Jones County at the Jones County line with Wayne County, and it's right now in Litany. I'm not seeing any more.
Again, this would be in the state of Mississippi. That is our former weather intern, Patrick Bigby. He's now the chief meteorologist there at WDAM, tracking that storm. And on National Weather Service chat, they're talking about a very strong rotation capable of producing a tornado very quickly. This would be near Lightsey. This is north of Hattiesburg over in the state of Mississippi. So this is what this storm looks like. We'll dive in and show you the radar here momentarily. This is sort of in that West Alabama, East Mississippi radar gap. So the closest look in we have at this is going to be off of the Mobile radar. And there you see it. For geographic reference, again, you can see you've got Heidelberg, Mississippi is here. This would be Interstate 59 right here. Meridian would be up here to the north. Hattiesburg would be down to the south. If we have a tornado, it's right here. Movement with this is towards the east-northeast. So this will go on across northern Wayne County in the state of Mississippi. So if you live in Choctaw County, Alabama, or you have family or friends, Silas and Gilberttown, if they live along Highway 10, Highway 17, over in that part of the world, they need to be moving ahead to that tornado safe place. All right, so here at home, understand this is in central Alabama where this broadcast originates from. So we will be obviously fairly Alabama centric with this, while kind of chatting into what's happening back in Mississippi, because those are the storms that are heading our direction. The atmosphere over Alabama, not as dangerous as the one in Mississippi, but it's still dangerous enough. This is the latest. This is a new mesoscale discussion coming in moments ago. It's hot off the press from the National Weather Service. Check it out here. You see it. This is for a big chunk of the area. In it, they talk about still a risk of rotation with these discrete storms that have popped out ahead of a main line of storms. We're not necessarily that wound up about this being a kind of a big long track tornado scenario. This would be more in the vein of brief embedded tornadoes that would pop down from the sky fairly quickly. That's not to say these are all weak tornadoes, but typically they would be on the low end of the spectrum, and they would not be on the ground for an incredibly long period of time. So what about here at home? Let's dive into what happens next here, and we'll do kind of a picture-in-picture for that, and walk you through this whole thing. I'll shrink down to the corner of the screen. Hopefully you can make that out. We'll make it a little bigger, because why not? Technology's great, right? And what I'll do too, I'm going to briefly take down our Bryan Jewelry and Vance Law Firm logos just for ease of conversation and clarity here. Okay, so this would be right about now, and the model has, generally speaking, the right idea. There's a line of storms back to the northwest that runs from Florence back down to Greenville, Mississippi. Then you've got these individual discrete cells out ahead of it. But watch what happens here. So this is valid right about now, right around midnight, and then kind of walk you through this. Here's 1 in the morning and 2 in the morning. You start to see consolidation occur. So what happens here, the kind of the larger squall line catches up to these individual cells as they arrive in west central Alabama. That should happen sometime around 2 to 4 a.m. So you'll notice it's not a line, it's not a cluster of storms, it's something in the middle. In the weather world, we call this a quasi-linear convective system. Yeah, we've got big names for everything, but all it really means is it's not quite a line and it's not quite a cluster. It's a mix of both. Now, what you have within this will be these individual storm cores that would be capable of producing isolated tornadoes, wind, and hail. When would that happen? So we'll say for Marengo and Perry County, the threat window would open around 2 and last till about 4. So that's for Marengo and Perry. For Chilton County, it's like 3 to 5. For Dallas County, it's like 3 to 5. For Autauga County, I think it's 3 to 5. For Coosa and Elmore and Tallapoosa, it's about 3 to 5 in the morning when this thing comes through. For Wilcox, we'll say 3 to 6. Then it keeps moving. For Montgomery, I think it's 4 to 6. For Lowndes, it's 4 to 6. For Butler, it's 4 to 6. For Macon and Lee and Chambers, it's 4 to 6. Then I think it's 5 to 7 a.m. Monroe, Conecuh, Escambia, Crenshaw, Pike, Bullock, Russell. So again, these would be the time frames here of concern. The overall threat level's low. Damaging wind in a few locations, a few embedded quick tornadoes, some heavy rains, maybe some hail in the most intense cores. Onward we go. So 6 to 8 a.m. is the window in Covington and Coffee and Dale and Barber. 6 to 8 in the morning would be the kind of core time frame here. And then we'll call it 7 to 9 down in Geneva County and Henry County and Houston County. And by 10 o'clock, this whole thing's gone. So that's the lay of the land here. That's what we expect, when we expect it to happen in Central and South Alabama. Now, we're doing this live on YouTube. This is live on Facebook. I know we've got people from all over. So area-wide, the risk is in the low range. For everyone in our area, there is a low risk of all of these things. Again, if you're just joining us, we'll walk back through this again. We'll say 2 to 4 a.m., Marengo, Perry, Chilton. Then we'll say 3 to 5 a.m., Wilcox, Clark, Washington, Dallas, Autauga, Elmore, Coosa, Tallapoosa, Randolph. Then we'll say 4 to 6 a.m., Monroe and Butler and Montgomery and Macon and Lee counties. Then by 5 to 7, it gets down to the Conecuh and Escambia and Crenshaw and Pike and Bullock and Russell counties. And I understand there's some overlap in this. This, off of, if your county's in a 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, it really doesn't matter. This is the general idea here. I'm giving you a 2-hour window that this will be concentrated on. 6 to 8 a.m., Covington, Coffee, Dale, Barber. 6 to 8 in the morning. 7 to 9, Geneva, Henry, Houston. So that's the rough estimate on this. Now, the overall atmosphere for tornadoes diminishes as this thing moves towards us. Let me show you this. This is a graphic that we don't use on TV very often, but we use it a lot kind of behind the scenes. This is the significant tornado parameter. This is a kind of rough guess at the highest tornado threat areas. So you'll notice right now, this is valid right about now over Mississippi, you see a lot of red and yellow and orange on the map, but watch what happens as this moves into Alabama. Watch with me here, and I'll take this full screen so it's a little bit easier to kind of make out, and I'll make it as big as possible too. Okay, so watch with me as you come into Alabama with this. Look at that. See how that, you see a lot less orange on the map, don't you? So again, now big bullseye. Tornado Alley, man, Mississippi. Dangerous environment. As it moves into Alabama, it doesn't go to zero. There's still some yellow and some blue on the map here, but it sure does go down, doesn't it? Sign me up. I like that. So that's sort of where we are with this whole scenario, and that's how we see this unfolding over the next several hours. I'm going to take a sip of Diet Mountain Dew, the drink of champions. And then we're going to dive into some of the questions on here. If you're asking for a specific risk area, we've already covered that. There's a risk everywhere in Alabama tonight. All right, so the timing, we've gone on over that as well. We'll do that again, by the way. This is going to be a long thing. I'm going to stay on here for hours or until we have to go on TV for a tornado warning in our coverage area. Let's pop back over to radar here. So check this out. You now got a tornado warning that goes on up into Choctaw County, Alabama. For those who don't know, Choctaw County's way over here. See, there's Montgomery. Here's Choctaw County. This would be in the far western sections of Alabama. It's for this storm that you see here coming out of Mississippi. Look at that. Got almost a donut hole there. That's called a bounded weak echo region. Why is it called that? Easy. So see this right here where it's kind of green and blue? That is a weak echo region. See how it is bounded by brighter colors out here? It is a bounded weak echo region. So there you go. When you see that, it's a clear sign of strong rotation. This would be north of Waynesboro, Mississippi. This is going to cross Highway 45 any minute now. A couple of comments. Is it likely the watch will extend to Lee County? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good bet. I'd say it's 60-40 yes. So, Brandy says, last time I was told we was in the clear, a tornado warning appeared quickly and out of nowhere, so I'm scared regardless. When was that, Brandy? I ask because I'm genuinely curious. That hasn't really happened like that in a while. That does happen. It is extremely rare. Usually we can give you a pretty good notification, and usually if we say all clear, it's usually all clear. Usually. We are certainly not perfect. There's been only one case of perfection on planet Earth, and it was a long time ago, and weather was not involved. Krista says, thank you for all you do. We are all sick and Prattville with the flu. Oh, no, that's lousy. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get better, Krista and the Carr family. Thankful to be able to watch from the phone and know what's going on. Will it come into Elmore County like tornadoes? There is a risk there, sure. But right now we're tracking this over in far west Alabama. This would be, right now the core rotation with this is in the state of Mississippi, between Waynesboro and a town called Shabuta. This is my old stomping ground. I used to live there, not in Shabuta, but I used to live up the road in Meridian, right there. And we cover Wayne County. They had a great football program way back when. Brandy says, I'm in Wetumpka. It's been a minute since. Well, that helps to know. We'll keep you posted there in Wetumpka, Brandy, and I apologize that happened in the past. We'll do our best to not let it happen again. Sometimes we mess up the messaging part of this. That really is our big thing. Troy, Alabama, question mark. Storms are on the way late tonight and early tomorrow morning. The main kind of core time frame for Troy would be kind of in that 4 to 6 window, most likely. How is Hayneville? What about Butler County? Again, the specific location questions here. Yes, there will be thunderstorms almost for everyone. Thunderstorms will hit Butler County after midnight before the sun comes up. There is a risk of tornadoes, but I don't know yet where they'll develop. That's the thing with tornadoes. They don't give us much heads up. We can see them forming on radar if we're lucky, and give you some warning, but 15 minutes. Average lead time is 10 to 15 minutes. Lynette says, I'm scared to go to sleep. My family lives in West Alabama. If you have a weather radio, you can go straight to bed. Can we sleep? Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that the key here is having a weather radio. As I've said all week leading up to tonight, you need multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings, and those need to be capable of waking you up. If you have that, you really have no reason to kind of stay awake with this whole thing. I was going to see how Patrick was doing. Again, Patrick is our chief meteorologist at our Gray station over at WDAM. We've been dipping into their live stream on occasion tonight, and we may end up doing that again momentarily. We'll kind of keep an eye on the live stream here and let you know how all of that's going. April says, Brandy, I remember that day. I was scared for you that day. But Josh showed the map for possible tornadoes, and our area looks pretty clear. Now, we have not given an all clear to anyone. The risk of tornadoes is highest now in Mississippi. It will decrease as it moves into Alabama, but it doesn't drop to zero. It is critical that we communicate this correctly, because I sure don't want there to be any sort of miscommunication. So there is a risk of tornadoes tonight every square inch of the state. Though that risk is low, but there is a risk. So please, 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 let's make sure we're all on the same page with that. In fact, I'll show you the map. See that? There is orange everywhere. Sorry, I got an email. I can't tell if they're mad or not. I'm not sure what they mean. Okay, well, I don't have time to fool with that. We get some strange emails sometimes. Dwayne makes a good point about that Mississippi cell. Let's go back to that. Having a pretty pronounced hail core. Yeah, there you see it. That is, as sure as I'm sitting here, it is hailing right there. Yeah, there will be hail in these storms, no doubt about it. The issue, sort of from a hail perspective, is the cores will be relatively small. So you're not going to have a lot of us that get hail, but where you have it, yeah, you could have some, I think up to golf ball size hail in the most intense cores. The other thing that's going to happen is this sort of what will happen here. Let me show you. So the main line forms back here and moves like this. These individual cells out ahead of the line will get absorbed into it as it comes through. As that happens, the hail production processes sort of get disrupted a little bit. It's not to say there won't be hail, but it will be kind of small in a smaller situation. And in smaller areas. Is Mississippi clear? Absolutely not. There are ongoing tornado warned storms in East Mississippi. We've been covering those on the chat here. Diet Sunkist level. Well, Curtis, I didn't have time to get any today, so I'm on the DMD wagon today. By the way, story time, since we're not in an active life-threatening situation here, I stopped by a restaurant today that will not be named. I don't do that. And I ordered a Diet Mountain Dew. I'd been very busy all day, didn't sleep much last night, knew it would be a long night. They bring me my drink, and it is orange. Which, if you know anything about Diet Mountain Dew, you will notice it is very much not orange. Green, maybe greenish yellow, if the light hits it just right. So I politely say, hey, I think there's been a mix-up. I ordered a Diet Mountain Dew. Can we look at that? And the guy says, that's a Diet Mountain Dew. And I said, I really don't think it is. I drink a lot of Diet Mountain Dew, more than I should. And it's usually green. So he kind of looks at me funny. He goes to the back. He makes me a new one. Brings it out. It's orange again. At this point, I'm like, I'm not really going to argue with the guy. So I say, are you sure this is Diet Mountain Dew? Like, this looks like it's orange. And this restaurant that I'm not going to name, they have like various flavors of Mountain Dew on the menu, including like the Mountain Dew Southern Slam or whatever it is that is orange. So at this point, I'm like, if I don't quit talking, I don't want to be the rude customer at all. One of my first jobs was at McDonald's in Jacksonville, Alabama. The food service industry, I get it. People are mean to us all the time. So I try really hard to never, ever be that way. But I also know if I send that thing back again, I'm going to end up drinking Lord knows what. So that was the end of that. So I said, okay, well, thank you, and have a nice day. Didn't drink it, though. That was that. So anyway, fun story time with Uncle Josh. Lauren says, I know exactly what you're talking about. Trust me, it's not. It's the Tropical Mountain Dew. Yeah, I believe that. It definitely was not Diet Mountain Dew. So anyway, enough of that nonsense. Back to the weather. You've got an active tornado warning now. Choctaw County, Alabama, Wayne County, Mississippi, Jones County, Mississippi. It's for a very well-defined supercellular thunderstorm with a possible tornado. Let's check out the correlation coefficient, see if we see anything. Now, we're in this radar gap, so it becomes almost impossible to kind of make heads and tails of all of this, but man, you have really intense rotation out there south of Shibuda. Let's do this. We'll double panel it. Well, I don't have Pro on this account. I have Pro on my personal phone, but so you've kind of pretty well-defined hook echo right there. And it looks like the rear flank downdraft, you can see a little bit more kind of the rear flank downdraft cycling through. So this may be occluding. That would be a situation where the tornado risk is actually sky high right now, and then it starts to slide down a little bit as it occludes. It's a complicated process. We won't get into all of the physics involved there, but that may be what's getting ready to happen here. But no doubt about it, you have very intense rotation right now south of Shibuda, Mississippi. Right there. Yeah, this would be a really tough storm. This is on Highway 45, north of Hattiesburg, south of Meridian is where we are here. So a first alert heads up here. Choctaw County, sure, you've got to be watching this too, but in our coverage area, let me just say for this, southern Marengo, you got to be on your toes here sometime, we'll say around 12:45 to 1:30. It's nothing imminent. You do not need to go to your safe place yet, but if you live out at Nanophilia, Sweetwater, Dixon's Mills, you need to be paying attention to this thing anyway. If it holds together, this could threaten you. You see the animation here. We'll take the telestration off, zoom back in. So that's what you see there. Is a pretty well-defined tornadic supercell along the Jones-Wayne County line. That would be, again, over in the state of Mississippi. That's it right there. And it's pretty well-defined rotation. Just classic kind of signature there with that cell. This is going to be in Alabama in about 20 minutes. It will initially move through Choctaw County, Toxie, Gilberttown, Silas, and Needham. No, you're not in the polygon yet, but you will be probably soon if this thing continues cycling through like this. National Weather Service Mobile, a dangerous storm with a likely tornado and up to ping-pong-sized hail is what they're talking about with this storm that you see here. So you've got a bounded weak echo region, very well-defined tornadic-type circulation. Now, understand if we were closer to a radar, we would be able to see a lot more with this. We'd be able to confirm a tornado debris signature and all that. Or if the federal government would step up and put in a radar out here in East Mississippi and West Alabama, we'd be able to give you better life-saving information. But so far, that hasn't happened. I am working on it feverishly. All right, some more questions. Is Troy going to get hit hard? Tiffany, the honest answer there is we don't know. We do not know ahead of time where tornadoes were formed. If we did, this would all be simple. We just list off those areas hours in advance and make sure everyone got out of there. It doesn't work that way. I wish it did. We can't really see a tornado until, at best, 10 to 20 minutes before it forms. So we have to kind of just tell you what the risk level is, tell you to pay attention, and then when we get to the kind of the moment of truth here, we are able to kind of ramp up the warning. So, man, it's warm in here. People think we take the jacket off to be dramatic. We take the jacket off because it gets warm in TV studios on severe weather days. Will the tornado warning coming into Alabama head towards Safford? There's no way of knowing that at this point. If it were to hold together, the motion here so far on this would carry it something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think if this were to hold together long enough, this could threaten Safford, western Wilcox, southern Marengo, southwestern Dallas County. Now, that would be more than an hour from now. So you've got lots and lots of time to kind of look at that and pay attention. And hopefully this thing will cycle through. And as it runs into Alabama, I think it does run into eventually it's going to run into a less supportive storm environment. So how can we help get a radar in West Alabama? The honest answer is contact your congressional representative. Terry Sewell is the U.S. rep out there. Senator Katie Britt, Senator Tommy Tuberville, Governor Kay Ivey. Contact your politicians. Let them know that it's important to you. I'm one guy. I have had conversations with all of these people in varying levels of intensity, but I'm one person. And if they start hearing from you and on a large scale, this whole thing maybe gets some momentum. So I would just encourage you that's kind of the path on this whole thing is if you get going with it, if you get fired up about it, if you reach out to your people over and over and over, this is going to change. We'll get a radar out there eventually. Speaking of, back to the radar coverage we have on this storm. So this is just a very well-defined mesocyclone. Now, a mesocyclone is a big word, means something simple. It's kind of a tornadic circulation. Let's see here. Sharing this on YouTube, by the way. What is a safe dew point? You know, it's a tresor. I think that's how to pronounce it. Tresor. I'm not sure. You'll have to help me out with the pronunciation there. There really isn't a specific number. Once you get down below 65, the chances go down. It's not a hard, fast, okay, we're good. Obviously, anything above 68, 69, 70, gosh, that's very supportive. 65, still supportive. You start to get down in the low 60s. Now you're talking about a marginally supportive environment. You go below 60 on the dew point, and it really becomes not impossible, but much more difficult for a tornado to form. I'm sorry I'm late. Is Pike County good? No, you'll have storms later tonight. Let's do this. Let's re-rack everything. For those who have just joined us and are just hopping onto the conversation, I'm going to do another run-through on the timing on this whole thing. And for your county, the category I put you in may change from update to update. It's at 5 to 7. Is it 6 to 8? Don't get too wound up on the specific times. It's a rough guess. So if you're 6 to 8, if you're 5 to 7, just sort of understand that it's somewhere in that general idea. With that in mind, we will pop on over and do a little walkthrough here. Let me see if I can maybe be able to get you some new data. See if it's out far enough. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the new run of the high-res rapid refresh is in. That's our best kind of short-term model guidance. It allows us to become a lot more specific here, and we've got new data. You haven't seen this yet, so this is great. If you're just jumping in and just hanging out with us here, you picked a very good time to come on board. So I'm going to take down our sponsor logos for a moment so everyone can see sort of the lay of the land here. So this is valid right about now. This is valid at midnight. The model doing a pretty good job. The storms, if anything, slightly ahead of schedule. You've got some big cells between Hattiesburg and Meridian with a consolidating squall line back behind it. So that's midnight. That's, pardon me, 1 in the morning. There's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So we'll say around 2 to 4 a.m., 2 to 5 maybe, Marengo, Perry, Chilton. Okay, so this would be valid at 4 in the morning. So we'll say 3 to 5 a.m., Clark, Monroe, Wilcox, Dallas, Perry, Chilton. Then we're going to say 4 to 6 a.m., Conecuh County, Escambia County, Butler County, Lowndes County, Crenshaw County, Montgomery County, Autauga County, Coosa County, Tallapoosa County, Randolph County, Chambers County, Lee County. Okay, so here's 6 in the morning. So we'll say 5 to 7 a.m. For Russell County, for Barber County, for Pike County, for Coffee County, for Covington County. Then this dives on southward. We'll say 6 to 8 a.m., Geneva, Henry, Houston, Dale, Henry, Houston. Then it's gone, yeah. Rain's all out of here by 10 o'clock. So that's the kind of latest update. There you go. There's the storm we're watching right now. We'll zoom things out, too, and switch radar sources here. You'll note back to the northwest, you've got a really intense line of storms forming with a main threat of damaging wind up here in North Alabama. Check that out. Big severe thunderstorm warning polygon. This goes from Pickens County up through Tuscaloosa County, Fayette County, and into Walker County. Happy to report we've got 23 people watching on YouTube. How about that? And a few hundred watching on Facebook. You know, for a midnight severe weather event that hasn't even started in our area yet, I think that's pretty good. Joel says, thanks, Josh. There's a live chat function over on YouTube, too. How about that? I'm just now starting to kind of really dip my toes in the YouTube pond. So I hope that we find that helpful and useful as we go through nights like tonight. All right, so, yeah, and someone called me out for the finger drumming. That drives my wife crazy, man. She works here at the station, and I'll go hang out in our office for a minute, and I start doing the finger drumming, and she just looks at me. She doesn't have to say anything. I know exactly what she's saying without saying. Currently scared out of my mind because I have the biggest trees around my house. Haley, I'm sorry. I do not want you to be scared out of your mind. The problem areas in a setup like this are going to be isolated in nature. So please just understand the overall risk level with this whole scenario is pretty small. let's do this. Let's swap those out. Here we go. That's probably better, right? Actually, that's this Facebook Live. Okay, so let's don't do that. Let's do this instead. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, so what about Sweetwater here shortly? I have a granddaughter there around Lineville. Okay, so there's more than one Sweetwater in Alabama. There's the Sweetwater that we talk about a good bit. Okay, we got a new tornado warning polygon. This would be down into Choctaw, northwestern Clark County. It's for the storm coming out of Mississippi. This does not yet include Marengo County. Now, when we go to Marengo County, tornado warning, this will all end. I will have to go on TV, and you can watch on the weather app. We'll stream it live everywhere, too. But this specific Facebook Live, YouTube Live chat is going to end if we get a tornado warning from Marengo County. Just fair warning. So for Sweetwater in Marengo County, yeah, you need to be paying attention. Southern Marengo County. There is no active tornado warning polygon, but the way this thing is moving, this is going to end up affecting Southern Marengo in western Dallas if it holds together. Now, I will tell you, let's switch back over to Mobile radar. We'll get a better read on it from that than Birmingham. Kind of got the starfish look here now. So there's a sign of what we call occlusion in this. It's where the cool air coming down out of the bottom of this thing wraps into the circulation, and that will spin up a tornado and then eventually cut it off. Usually a new circulation will form on the western or southwestern side of that, and it will cycle again. We'll see if this is one of those cyclical supercells. Okay, can you show a map in regards to instability and tornado fuel factors? We can. It will essentially be the... I'll probably just stick to the significant tornado parameter because that sort of accounts for both of those, the wind shear and the instability. And I think it's actually got a very good kind of bead on the situation here. So this would be valid right about now. And you'll notice here a really big bullseye in this right over central Mississippi. But watch what happens as you move forward in time. When you're looking at this, just a little kind of inside baseball, the red and the purple mean, yeah, we are really concerned about tornadoes, guys. The orange, the yellow, it means we are concerned about tornadoes. The light blue means I can't rule out a tornado. So that's the kind of just real simple way of looking at this. Red and purple, oh Lord, look out. Orange, we're watching. Blue, we're watching, but we don't expect much. So when you look at this map, view it through that prism. So this is valid right now. Here's midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. So as this moves towards us, you notice how you go from all that yellow and red to mainly blue. That means we can't rule out tornadoes in Alabama as this thing kicks through, but the odds are not as high as they are back in Mississippi. The environment is not as dangerous. Son, you meant Goodwater. Okay, yeah, Goodwater. I know where that is. You're not under a tornado warning or anything like that in Goodwater. They are included in the tornado watch. If it's the Goodwater in Coosa County, Coosa is technically in that tornado watch. So, yes, they are there. Yes, they are kind of in that. So, there you have it. So there we'll go back to kind of the split screen here. We're watching a dangerous storm now that is moving out of Mississippi and into West Alabama. If you live or know someone who lives at Gilbertown, Toxie, Needham, along the Alabama-Mississippi state line, please let them know this is a dangerous storm. It will be producing golf ball or ping pong sized hail, and the risk of a tornado. So they need to be in that safe place immediately. Again, that would be Choctaw County, Alabama. Eventually, this moves on over into Marengo and Clark. Michelle asked a good question here. Genuine and clearest, what is this system hitting or what would make it weaken, so to say, in order for the tornado severe threat to go down once it moves into Alabama? Also loved meeting you at the Bama game with Miss Leanne and Mr. Bobby. Good people, good people. I enjoyed meeting you as well. That was hot. That is about as hot as I've ever been in my life. We went to the Alabama game. I had Charlie with me, and we were waiting so that Charlie could see Bryce Young and Nick Saban. That's his hero, and Bryce Young is, and it was hotter than the surface of the sun that day. Okay, so I'll go back to the map here momentarily. Essentially, the main limiting factor here is the air is a little drier in Alabama. So the way we measure that is something called the dew point. The dew point is kind of an octane rating for the atmosphere. You go up above 65, that's really juicy, muggy air. It supports tornadoes. You go lower than that, it really doesn't support tornadoes usually. There's always exceptions to every rule in meteorology. But check this out. So this is that dew point right now. And I'm going to blow this up for you and make it real big, painfully big. Okay, so if you look carefully at the map here, there is the state of Alabama. If you look closely here, and what I'll do too, let's do this. We'll see if we can get an even closer view into Alabama so that this will all really start to add up. I'll take the wind barbs off too so you'll get some city names and some numbers. Okay, so here you go. Check out the dew points right now in South Mississippi. Remember, we said anything above 65 supports tornadoes. You get above 68, and it's really supportive. Okay, see what you see. Dew points here, 70 at Meridian, 71 at Hattiesburg, 71 at Jackson, 73 at Natchez, 60 at Montgomery, 55 at Dothan, 64 at Birmingham. So the atmosphere is not as moist. There is not as much muggy air in place over Alabama as there is farther west. So that's the reason, in a nutshell, in one map, in one graphic, that's why this is the way it is. Now, as we go through the next few hours, we will see that number go up. Montgomery, it goes from around 60 up to around 68, 69 for just a couple of hours. Then it starts to drop again. And areas north of Montgomery, it doesn't even make it that high. So again, if we're using kind of 68, 69 as the cutoff for what supports a tornado on a night like tonight, notice we get there at Montgomery just barely for literally about 2 hours. So the storms eventually just sort of outrun the mugginess is what's going to happen here. As they move east into Alabama, the mugginess doesn't come north fast enough to really fuel a more substantial severe weather outbreak. So I hope that answers the question. It's my best stab at it. Is Rose Hill under a tornado watch? Dozier. Rose Hill and Dozier are in Crenshaw County, and Crenshaw County is indeed under a tornado watch until 6 in the morning. All right, my daughter lives in Prattville near the paper mill. 6 a.m. traveling home to Wetumpka. Will it be bad then? I do think it will likely be stormy by then. We'll go through this again, and I'll just walk you through the best data we have. The one disclaimer I would give you with this data, if anything, it can be a little too slow sometimes. So this is valid at midnight tonight. Again, this is midnight tonight that you see right here. We'll make this obnoxiously large. How about that? Now you can see essentially the southern 2/3 of the state. That's really the core of our area right there. Okay, so here's midnight, 1 in the morning. Covington, I'm sorry, I said Crenshaw, I meant Covington. Haley, thank you for the correction there. It's close to Crenshaw. So this is 1 in the morning, still nothing terribly dangerous ongoing. This is 2 in the morning. 3 in the morning, things starting to get a little bumpy. Out west especially, so Marengo, Perry, Dallas, Wilcox, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So this again, this map you see here, this is valid at 3 in the morning. Main line goes from about Piedmont to Birmingham to Meridian. So we'll keep cycling through this. 3 in the morning. Here's 4 in the morning. Worst of it now would be, again, 4 a.m., Clark County, Monroe, Wilcox, Dallas, Autauga, Chilton, Perry, Coosa. That's 4 in the morning. 5 in the morning, you're starting to see the main line will eventually weaken, and this one will become the dominant one. But the worst of it here around 5 a.m., still Dallas, Autauga, Coosa, Tallapoosa, Montgomery, it gets in on the act. Macon does too, and Bullock, and Pike, and Crenshaw, and Butler, and Conecuh. So for Autaugaville, you just asked, Annette, I'm showing you right now. This would be right over Autaugaville if this were to be exactly right around 5 in the morning. Now, as I've said, if this model is wrong, it's usually too slow. Here's 6, Chambers, Lee, Russell, Barber, Pike, Crenshaw, Covington, Coffee, Escambia. Next up, 7 in the morning. Core of it now runs from southern Covington back into Geneva, Dale County, Henry County, and look at that. By 8 o'clock, it's gone. I think that's 8. Let's make sure. Yeah, 8 a.m. This whole mess is back. Is closer to. It's now out of the state. There's leftover rain, but understand when you're looking at that map, it's the leading edge of the bright stuff is where you're talking about trouble. So right over, when you look at this map, I'll back it up a little bit. It would be this leading edge. See those little bright bullseyes? Those would be those embedded thunderstorms that could be very problematic from a tornado perspective. So that's sort of the story there. Ongoing tornado warning continues, by the way, over in Choctaw County, Alabama. That thing, that's the only active tornado warning in this entire system. Check that out. You've got severe thunderstorm warnings to the north up around Birmingham and Huntsville. It's really popping up there. Strong straight line wind gust really causing a lot of problems. Birmingham Metro, Huntsville Metro. If you have family or friends that live in those areas, hey, share this with them. We can chat with them too. We are wide open. Karina asks, will Jackson's Gap be under a tornado watch at any point? Sure, I think that is a possibility. Is it a given? No, it is not, but it is a possibility. All right, new tornado warning. This one's up in North Alabama, southern Walker County, just now placed under a tornado warning. We'll flip over to the Birmingham radar. There you see it. This is a classic embedded QLCS tornado. So what's happening, you've got the line of storms, and then you'll notice here there's this little kink right there. See that kink? That's the area where you're seeing the rotation in this thing. So this would be up in Walker County, northwest of downtown Birmingham. Quick forming, quick hitting type tornadoes. This is the reflectivity data. Again, this tells you how hard it's raining, but when we see the rain get bent around in this little kink right here, the little disconnect in the line, that's where it is. That's where you have a possible tornado here. We'll go back and check some other data sources here. That's a TDS on that one. Okay, so we've got a confirmed tornado here in southern Walker County. Southern Walker County, Alabama. This would be northwest of downtown Birmingham. Let's go over to the velocity here. There you see it. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so that's it right there. That's a confirmed tornado. We can actually confirm it using correlation coefficient. If you look carefully here, see that green blob right there? So what you're looking at, what radar does in this instance, it actually takes the size of everything it is seeing, and it takes the size and it figures out, are these things all the same size or not? And when they're all the same size, it shows red and purple. When it is not all the same size, it shows green or yellow or blue. And tornado debris isn't all the same size. When these things suck up leaves, leaves are bigger than raindrops by a huge margin. So it's a tricky phrase here, correlation coefficient, but think about it, it's just saying, how do these correlate, these things that radar is seeing in this area, how do they correlate to each other in size? Are they all about the same size or not? In this case, they're not, and that means there's a tornado on the ground. Again, this would be northwest of Birmingham. Quick Facebook question here. Is there for sure tornado on the ground in Choctaw? No. That storm not producing a tornado debris signature at this point. It is a radar-indicated possible tornado in Choctaw County. We have a radar-confirmed tornado in Walker County. So some subtle differences there, but they are indeed differences. So this will be in Walker County, northwest of downtown Birmingham. We'll zoom back out here, go back over to the SRV. That's the storm relative velocity. Couple of things jump out at me here. First one, you've got a ton of straight line wind up here around Jasper, Cordova, and Parrish. Then you've got your confirmed tornado right down here. The other thing is, based on the wind fields in this, and based on the structure in this, there is still a tornado on the ground. This will likely not be on the ground for an extremely long period of time. And the Weather Service, I think, agrees. That's why they've issued the tornado warning polygon only for southern Walker County. I'll draw it out with you here. That's where it is. So it's only Walker County. This does not go over into Jefferson. So family, friends that live over in downtown Birmingham, Hoover, Mountain Brook, Vestavia, you are not in a tornado warning polygon at this time. This would all be northwest of downtown Birmingham. So that's the confirmed tornado in the state of Alabama right now. The other tornado warning is down to the south. This one is for Choctaw County. Now, the reason I'm watching this one closely, Marengo County, which is the next one in line, is in our service area. And if we go under a tornado warning in Marengo County, we will take the coverage over live to television. So that's something we'll have to eyeball here and keep a very close eye on. And I will tell you, there is really, really strong rotation in this out here in West Alabama. The problem is the radar beam is hitting this storm thousands of feet above the ground, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 feet above the ground. So we're not seeing the low levels. What we're seeing here is up in the mid levels of the storm. It's not flying blind. It's flying without the most important thing. The low level part of it. That's what we're really concerned about here. But no doubt in the mid levels, what we can see is some very strong rotation here around Toxie and Gilbertown. So there's your base velocity, there's your storm relative, and no doubt about it, there is considerable rotation now with this storm crossing Alabama 17 between Toxie and Gilbertown in Choctaw County along the Mississippi state line. This is a potentially life-threatening situation in Choctaw County. Big deal there. Now, for Marengo County, this is steadily marching towards the east-northeast. So on that trajectory, this gets over into southwestern Marengo sometime around 12:50 to 1:10 in the morning. So once that, if we get a tornado warning for southern Marengo County, we're going to have to go on TV. And we will have to do so quickly. So this will... If we do that, the YouTube coverage is going to come to a very quick end. You can watch it on the WSFA Weather app. You can watch it on the WSFA Weather or on the WSFA Facebook page, WSFA.com. We're live on Roku, Apple TV. If you're not local, download the app. So I would call it a likely tornado in Choctaw County right now, and then a confirmed tornado up in Walker County. That's northwest of Birmingham. So they're spread apart. These are not at all part of the same complex of storms. It's sort of messy here, but you've got a line of storms up here to the north that is creating this tornado and severe thunderstorm setup. Then you've got an individual storm ahead of the main line that's causing you the problems down in Choctaw County. So there you go. East at 60, by the way, is the motion on that thing. Whew. Yeah, those QLCS tornadoes, they drop quick, they move quick, and they lift quick. In fact, the Weather Service has likely dissipated at this point. So that's what we were talking about. The circulation sort of gets left behind here. There's the tornadic circulation. Now, what happens sometimes is these things cycle, so you'll end up with a new circulation perhaps forming. But remember, as you move east, you lose the dew point, you lose the juice, you start to lose the tornado threat. So Will this cycle back up in Walker County? We don't know. So the National Weather Service in Birmingham has canceled that tornado warning. So that thing is lifted. So we had a tornado hit Walker County. Looks like it was on the ground for 45 seconds, not maybe longer than that, just a few minutes. We'll let the survey do that part. That's their job. It's impossible to kind of figure it out just looking at radar. Okay, so we'll drop off of that and head back down here. This thing is nasty. Mobile radar's closest, but even it's too far away. Whew, goodness gracious. Strong evidence of a tornado near Toxie. Zoom on into that. Right there. Go back to reflectivity. It's a strange signature. You may be getting some side lobe contamination with that. Yeah, that's kind of, you would think that the main rotation would be in a different place. This is a very highly sheared storm, so this could be a scenario here where the brightest rotation is forming, the tornado could be in a different part of the storm. So we've got to be careful here to not get overly specific and get cute with this. This could be one of these where in the mid-levels, the circulation shows up here, but because of how sheared the environment is, the actual tornado isn't directly underneath it. It stretches off to the side. That happens sometimes. And it really can happen over here in West Alabama where we don't have adequate low-level radar coverage. So that makes this really, really difficult to get as specific as I like to get. But just understand that, and that's the beauty, I will say this, let's brag on the Weather Service. That's the beauty of the polygon. If you're in the polygon, you need to go to that safe spot. They draw big polygons to account for things like this. All right, so my mic battery is down to 1. So eventually I'm going to have to go and put in a new battery so that if we go on TV, the battery lasts. So if I do that, I'll just put up a full screen of radar and I'll be right back. So it's not something, in fact, I'll go ahead and do that just in case they're about to issue. So what we'll do, we'll just go full screen now with the radar. I will be right back in a matter of seconds. So just bear with me for the next 30 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, gang. It's me again. It's me again. So still no warning for Marengo yet. Still an active tornado warning, Choctaw, and the northwesternmost tip of Clark. Now, if you live, the major population centers over in Clark County are Grove Hill, Jackson, and Thomasville. None of those are in this polygon. This storm will go north of each of those counties, or each of those cities. It will be up in the far northwestern part of Clark County, just so you know, and just so we are all kind of on the same page with that. Zooming the perspective out, you have a huge severe thunderstorm warning polygon up in the Birmingham metro. This is a fairly intense wind gust situation. Large area here of potentially damaging wind coming now into western Jefferson County, northern Tuscaloosa County. It's really strong wind signatures there around West Jefferson, Summerton, Dora, approaching Warrior, Kimberly Morris, and Graysville and Adamsville. By the way, I just spoke with the National Weather Service. They are watching the storm in Choctaw County. It has shown some signs of weakening, so they are going to just keep an eye on it. It has. Look at that. Yeah, this. Remember when we first came on with you, showing you this storm, I was explaining that whole bounded weak echo thing. Remember, it looked kind of like a donut hole. It doesn't have that anymore. So, that's why they're just looking at it. They're just going to hold off on issuing for now. Sorry, answering a question on Twitter. All right. Some more questions streaming in now. Will Jackson's Gap be under a tornado watch at any point? Karina. I think that is possible, yeah. They're not quite there yet, but they're really close. Coosa and Elmore are in the tornado watch. So it's already pretty close to you. So I would, quite frankly, just kind of keep an eye on things. I think there's a possibility you get under a watch later. It will depend on how the line behaves between now and then. Weather Geek question. I like those. Jamel Sheely asking, is that what the CAPE value is? A way to calculate how much the atmosphere is primed for supercell tornado production by using the dew point, humidity, and daytime temps, or is that something else? Okay, Jamel, the CAPE, CAPE is short for convective available potential energy. The way you calculate CAPE is to look at the temperature and dew point profile from the ground all the way up through the sky. And I'm not going to get into the depth of it, but the overall concept is warmer near the ground, colder up above it equals a lot of CAPE. Warmer and muggy near the ground, colder and drier up above it equals a lot of CAPE. So that's to simplify a pretty complicated thing, that's it. So two things, it's got to be hot and humid near the ground, it's got to be cold and dry up above the ground. And the faster it goes from hot and muggy near the ground to cold and dry above it, the faster that happens, the more intense the CAPE is. Is there a for sure tornado on the ground in Choctaw, Madison? No, there is not. There's evidence of a tornado, but there is not. We do not have confirmation. We see rotation on radar. And I'll say this, whether there's a tornado or not, there is likely some extremely strong wind with that storm making it to the ground now, out here between Toxie and Sweetwater, approaching the Tombigbee River. Julie says, the one in Choctaw is really worrying me. Looks to be pointing towards Wilcox, kind of. It is, Julie, but remember, as it moves east, the environment gets less and less supportive for tornadoes. So, yeah, it's moving that direction, sure. Is it weakening? Yeah, it kind of seems like it is weakening a little. Hopefully that trend continues. Thunder is starting to rumble in Wilcox County from Bessie. I believe you. We'll go back to the traditional radar view here. Yeah, that's the thunder you're hearing is from that storm coming out of Choctaw, just FYI. How long do you think this holds together, Russell? That individual storm I think will gradually weaken as it moves east. The issue would be if it cycles back up. And that, we have no way of knowing the exact dew point in Pine Hill or Sweetwater, Alabama. There's no weather observation equipment out there. We know what it is in Demopolis. We've got equipment there. We know what it is in Meridian and Mobile. We've got equipment there. But we don't know every piece of data for every square inch of the state. In Demopolis, the dew point is going up to 70. In Selma, it's up to 70. So I would anticipate the environment out there is still storm supportive for a while. It will gradually become less storm supportive as we go through this. Josh, what does instability mean? Is there a chance that can happen? Lynette, good question, Lynette. Okay, so instability, remember we were talking about CAPE and we were talking about hot, muggy air near the ground and cold, dry air above it? That's instability. The reason that's unstable, hot things want to go up. Think about a hot air balloon. You can literally lift a human being off the planet Earth if you fill a balloon full of hot air, because hot air wants to rise. It is more buoyant than cold air. So what happens in the atmosphere, when you get hot air near the ground and cold air above it, that's an unstable environment. The atmosphere wants to flip that. The natural order of physics doesn't like that, because hot air wants to go up, cold air wants to go down. Well, the cold air is up here and the hot air is down here. So the atmosphere is unstable. You've got this tension where the two are pressing against each other. So that is instability. We measured that by using something called the CAPE, the convective available potential energy. How much of that energy is there for thunderstorms to tap into? So that's instability. So instability and CAPE are terms that are frankly used sort of interchangeably. Not to overly dumb it down, but they essentially mean the same thing. So that's sort of the deal there. I hope that explanation made any sense at all. It's after midnight, right? Sydney liked it and Haley liked it. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate that. I'm thankful that you're thankful. All right, so we are still on Facebook and YouTube. By the way, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, you ought to do it. I post all kinds of stuff over there, and you can go check it out. It's we're up to 260 subscribers now. That's exciting. And what I will do, I'm going to, on the Facebook page, I will post a link to the YouTube page. There you should see it. So if you see that the link there for YouTube, I post videos there sometimes. So I do lives there sometimes. It's a good opportunity. By the way, there's all sorts of Weather Geek videos on there if you like this sort of thing. I've got a bunch of those. Jamel says, thanks for answering. I'd heard that term a lot, but never could fully grasp it. Now, I'm guessing that's where the inversion part of the name comes from. Yeah, an inversion is when there is warm air above cold air, right? And now I'm really going to blow your mind. So when there's warm air at the bottom and cold air above it, the warm air wants to rise. When there is cold near the ground and warm air above that, that's an inversion. When the air gets warmer as you leave the ground and go up higher. That's a little unnatural too. Typically, the air cools at a certain rate as you go from the ground up. So in this sort of scenario, when you have an inversion, it's the other way around. The air gets hotter as you go up from the ground. That kind of puts a cap on things and a lid on things. It doesn't allow the hot air to go up. So when you get an inversion, your air quality can be bad. Thunder becomes super loud. It's kind of weird. When you get an inversion, the sound waves get trapped down in the lowest levels of the atmosphere and they reverberate. It's kind of like, think about if you had a big lid right above the ground. Boom, you get thunder and it bounces. That's what those sound waves do. It's pretty cool. I'm going to show you my palm real quick. I was borrowing a charger. So the phone that I used to run all this, I'll show you my setup, by the way, sometime. In fact, I can actually show you my setup right now. So this phone is what I use as sort of the switcher for this whole thing. I use it to toggle between sources. I can go to the radar. I can go to the website. I can go to fun little cool graphics like that one. We can go to this camera. So there's a lot that we do with this phone. This is the switcher. Okay. then this phone that you're looking at now, that is the camera. See that? Yeah, this is kind of 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. But I used that phone and a ring light as the camera. Now, right now, honestly, I don't even have the ring light on. There's what it does, if you're interested in such things. And it's got these filters on it where it can change colors. What will they think of next? So that's the ring light. And then I've got a dual computer set up right here. See it there. Then we've got all these big screen TVs over here. The news set and the weather set are back behind me, and the green screen is right over there. So it's kind of cool.